The impact of God of War reaches far beyond video games, resonating across Hollywood, anime, and other entertainment industries. Despite its mature rating, the series redefined how ancient myths are retold, transforming the way we experience storytelling in gaming. Yet the journey wasn't without its challenges, as it faced several hurdles that nearly destroyed the franchise. Hello everyone, I am the games guru, your nostalgia time machine, and this is the epic story of God of War. The creation of God of War was driven by David Jaffe, a game director at Santa Monica Studio, who envisioned an action-adventure that would set a new standard for cinematic storytelling in video games. Inspired by Greek mythology, Jaffe crafted the first concept for God of War and pitched it to Sony, who, recognizing his expertise and the potential in the concept, decided to greenlight the project, allocating generous resources to the development. The team at Santa Monica Studio, although relatively small at the time, was composed of passionate developers who shared Jaffe's vision. They drew inspiration from popular action games like Devil May Cry, but aimed to create something more visceral and story-driven. The main idea was to make a game that felt like an interactive blockbuster film, with seamless transitions between intense gameplay and cinematic cutscenes. As the team set out to create this ambitious game, they knew the protagonist needed to be a character who could carry the weight of the story, a figure who embodied raw power and relentless rage. Drawing heavily from Greek mythology, they conceived Kratos, a Spartan warrior who wasn't just another hero, but a force of nature. The design of Kratos went through multiple iterations as the team sought to balance his brutal, intimidating appearance with a backstory that would make players empathize with him. The final result was a scarred, ash-covered warrior, tormented by his past and driven by an unquenchable thirst for revenge. Released exclusively for Sony PlayStation 2 in March 2005, God of War was both a critical and commercial success. Critics loved the game for its storytelling innovations, giving God of War an average score of 98%, while gamers praised its brutally satisfying combat, purchasing the game over 4.5 million times. God of War's innovative blend of Greek mythology, brutal combat, and cinematic storytelling not only set a new standard for action-adventure games, but also influenced how ancient mythology was portrayed in Hollywood and other entertainment, boosting public interest in Greek mythology. After the resounding success of the original God of War, David Jaffe decided to kick back on the managerial role and was relocated by Sony to a different studio. However, the need for a sequel was obvious, prompting Sony to greenlight a follow-up, with Cory Barlog taking over as the studio's director. While Jaffe had laid the foundation for the franchise, it was Barlog who expanded on the original concept and has led the series since then. Barlog and the development team at Santa Monica Studio aimed to create a sequel that was bigger and more ambitious than its predecessor, drawing from a wide range of mythological and cinematic influences. The team sought to expand the scope of the game, introducing new environments, characters, and gameplay mechanics. God of War 2, released in March 2007 for the PlayStation 2, was another critical and commercial triumph. Praised as one of gaming's most intense and engaging experiences, God of War 2 received an average score of 95% and sold over 4 million copies worldwide, cementing the franchise's status as one of Sony's flagship series. The game's success further influenced the portrayal of ancient mythology in popular media, with its blend of action and storytelling continuing to inspire both the gaming and film industries. The ending of God of War 2 left players on a cliffhanger, so the development of God of War 3 was a natural progression. Santa Monica Studio now had a significantly larger team and could take full advantage of the advanced hardware of the freshly released PlayStation 3. With this installment, Santa Monica wanted to conclude Kratos' story, but they knew that Sony wouldn't put one of their most profitable franchises to rest. However, there wasn't much the developers could do about Sony's intellectual property, so they decided to focus on developing the game and embracing whatever comes next. The development team was inspired by epic films and mythological stories, aiming to create a game that felt truly monumental in scope. The final chapter of Kratos' Vengeance was meant to be not just another showcase of the console's capabilities, but a narrative powerhouse that would leave a lasting impression on the gaming world. The release of God of War 3 in March 2010 was a significant event in the gaming world. Although it didn't receive as much praise as its predecessors, everyone agreed that God of War 3 finished the trilogy on an exceptionally high note, garnering an average rating of 90% and selling over 5 million copies on PS3 alone. To further explore Kratos' backstory without detracting from the main series development, Sony decided to create spin-offs for the PSP and outsource their development to Ready at Dawn Studios. This strategy allowed Santa Monica Studio to dedicate its resources to the mainline series while still expanding the God of War universe. The result was God of War, Chains of Olympus in 2008, and God of War Ghost of Sparta in 2010, which delved deeper into Kratos' past. While these PSP titles were praised for maintaining the core gameplay of the series, they were generally seen as supplementary experiences rather than essential entries in the franchise, and fans pointed to their shorter length and limited innovation compared to the mainline games. Despite these criticisms, the titles were still commercially successful, selling 4.5 million copies collectively. In parallel, Sony tasked Santa Monica Studio with developing God of War Ascension for the PlayStation 3. Positioned as a prequel to the entire series, Ascension aimed to explore Kratos' life before he became the Ghost of Sparta and introduced several new features, including a revamped combat system and a multiplayer mode. However, the game faced significant challenges during development, particularly in balancing the new multiplayer component with the series' traditional single-player focus. The development team drew inspiration from other multiplayer games, but integrating this into the God of War formula proved difficult. Despite its innovative features, Ascension received mixed reviews. While the game was praised for its graphics and combat, some critics felt that the narrative lacked the impact of the previous entries, and the multiplayer mode was deemed unnecessary. Despite a mixed rating of 80%, the game sold around 3 million copies, making it a commercial success. However, it was clear that the series was in need of a fresh direction, so the studio decided to explore other mythological worlds. After a 5-year hiatus, the God of War franchise returned in 2018 with a bold new direction. The reboot, simply titled God of War, was once again directed by Cory Barlog, who stepped down from his executive role in the company to lead the development. Barlog envisioned a complete reimagining of the series, changing the traditional overhead fixed camera into a third-person perspective, amplifying the cinematic aspect of the game, and moving the setting from Greek to Norse mythology. The development team at Santa Monica Studio underwent significant changes during the creation of the game, with new talent joining the team to help bring Barlog's vision to life. The team drew inspiration from Norse mythology, epic fantasy literature, and popular action games, aiming to create a more intimate and emotional experience. The decision to introduce Kratos' son, Atreus, was a key part of this new direction, adding depth to the narrative and exploring themes of fatherhood and legacy. Released in April 2018, God of War was a critical and commercial triumph, receiving an astonishing average rating of 98%, dozens of Game of the Year nominations and awards, and selling over 20 million copies on PlayStation 5 alone. The game's storytelling, character development, and reimagined gameplay were all praised, with many critics calling it one of the greatest video games of all time. The game's success had a profound influence on the industry, setting new standards for narrative-driven games and inspiring other developers to explore similar themes in their own work. Following the immense success of the 2018 reboot, Santa Monica Studio began work on a direct sequel, God of War Ragnarok, which continued the story of Kratos and Atreus as they faced the impending apocalypse of Ragnarok. Directed by Eric Williams, who had been a key member of the development team since the original God of War, Ragnarok aimed to build on the success of its predecessor while introducing new gameplay elements and deepening the story, aiming to deliver a sequel that would surpass fans' expectations. The game featured expanded exploration, more complex combat mechanics, and a richer narrative, all while maintaining the core elements that made the 2018 reboot so awesome. Released in November 2022, God of War Ragnarok was met with critical acclaim, praised for its storytelling, character development, and improvements to gameplay. Numerous esteemed publications gave Ragnarok their highest ratings, averaging 99%. Gamers, however, didn't praise it as much as the prequel, but still purchased the game over 15 million times. God of War Ragnarok further solidified the franchise's status as a leader in narrative-driven gaming. As the industry continues to evolve, God of War remains a cultural phenomenon, inspiring both developers and audiences worldwide. While the future of the series is uncertain, its legacy is undeniable, and fans eagerly await where Kratos' journey will take them next. If you love video games as much as I do, go watch my video about helicopter bosses, one of the cheesiest game design techniques. Thank you all for tuning in. I am the Games Guru, love to all, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.